the Bennington Triangle nobody can account for. In the autumn of 1950, an 8-year-old boy named Paul Jepson vanished from a hillside in southern Vermont, and search teams still cannot account for why the bloodhound trained to find him sat down at the exact spot where his scent stopped and refused to move. No trail, no drag marks, no struggle, just a dog that wouldn't go any further. How does a search animal's instincts break down at the precise coordinates a child disappeared from and stay broken for 75 years? Investigators have never closed this case. Not really. The place is a stretch of wilderness around Glastonbury Mountain, a 40-square-mile pocket of forest in Bennington County, Vermont. Locals started calling it the Bennington Triangle sometime after the fifth disappearance, though nobody agrees on exactly when the name stuck. Before white settlers arrived, the Abenaki who lived nearby avoided the mountain entirely. They called it a place that swallows people. An old town called Glastonbury once stood inside those woods, logging camps, a rail line, a hotel. By 1937 it was deserted, reclaimed by trees. That's the backdrop. 5 people vanished from this stretch of land in 5 years, between 1945 and 1950, and not one of them was ever fully explained. The first was Mitty Rivers, a 74-year-old hunting guide who knew that terrain better than almost anyone alive. On November 12, 1945, he was leading a hunting party back to camp at dusk. He walked ahead of the group out of sight for maybe a few minutes. He never returned. Search parties combed the area for weeks. They found one thing, a single .22 caliber cartridge, unfired, resting on a rock, far from where anyone would expect him to have dropped it. Rivers himself was never found. Search organizers assumed exhaustion, a fall, a river crossing gone wrong. A reasonable theory for a man his age in rough terrain at nightfall. Then came December 1, 1946. Paula Weldon, an 18-year-old Bennington College sophomore, told her roommate she was going for a walk on the long trail. She was wearing a bright red jacket. Hikers on the same trail that afternoon remembered passing her. Nobody remembers passing her back. The obvious theory held for a while: a college girl, stressed. Maybe she just left town. Maybe she ran off with someone. Except investigators checked. She had no money beyond pocket change, no ID, no coat suited for a Vermont winter beyond the one she was wearing. The FBI eventually got involved. Her case remains the reason Vermont created its state police force. But here's what makes the "she just walked away" theory collapse entirely. In December 1949, 3 years later almost to the day, a man named James Tedford vanished from a bus. Not from the woods, from a public bus with witnesses aboard, traveling directly through Bennington on a route he'd taken dozens of times before. Fellow passengers confirmed he boarded. The bus driver confirmed his ticket was still tucked in the seat when the bus reached its final stop. His luggage remained in the overhead rack. Tedford himself was gone, from a moving vehicle, full of people, none of whom saw him leave. Now the deepest layer. In October 1950, 8-year-old Paul Jepson disappeared from his family's farm while his mother tended pigs a few dozen yards away. That's the case that opens this, the bloodhound that stopped at a single point in the woods and would not continue, no matter how the handlers coaxed it. 3 weeks later, in that same general stretch of wilderness, a woman named Frieda Langer went hiking with her cousin, slipped near a stream, and told him she'd head back to camp alone to change clothes. She never arrived. Her cousin retraced the route within the hour. Nothing. What makes this the strangest entry in the file? Searchers combed that exact area repeatedly, thoroughly, for over a month. Frieda Langer's body was finally found in May 1951 in a location search teams had already cleared multiple times. Her cause of death was never determined. No injury explained it. No exposure explained it. She was simply there, in a spot that had already been checked and rechecked, as if she'd been placed there after the fact. Search and rescue veterans have proposed everything: sinkholes swallowing the evidence, a serial predator working the region, disorientation from Glastonbury's unusually dense understory. Each theory answers one case and fails the next 4. A predator doesn't explain a man vanishing mid-transit on a crowded bus. A geological hazard doesn't explain a corpse appearing in already searched terrain. 5 people, 5 years. One patch of Vermont forest that swallowed each of them differently enough that no single explanation covers all 5, and specifically enough that coincidence stops sounding plausible. So what was that bloodhound smelling, right up until the moment it wasn't?